Hey guys and gals, welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you watching the second part of our video here. So this is all about the rooftop rack for the SmittyBilt tent and how it telescopes up and down and what the engineering components were for that basically. So I apologize if my camera works a little shaky. My camera's down. I'm having to do this with my phone. Vertical steel tubing is approximately 4 foot. I think it's about 47 inches, and that's just because of the way the steel was cut by the local supplier. They measured a little off, believe it or not. And then the horizontal bars are about 80 inches in length. Okay, so here is a view of the rack fully extended. So it's raised up 18 inches from its normal position. That gives me plenty of room, as you can see, to raise or lower that top for my M416. So on the power box, what I did was, instead of just putting an on-off switch to lower or raise the rooftop tent, what I did is I put a toggle switch. And you'll probably hear it as I raise it all the way up, and then you might hear most of the actuators stop, and then one or two continue until they're at their full height. Alright, that was pretty good. You heard hopefully you could hear the actuators. One or two of them would stop, the other two kept going until they were fully extended. And if I just put an on-off switch in there, I don't think I'd get that same effect. So that ensures that over time that all of the linear actuators stay pretty close in alignment, and they don't you know, come down at different rates and don't stabilize. This way I can ensure, by applying a little extra power every time I cycle them, that they get fully extended or fully retracted. Okay, so you can see these brackets here. These are from Compact Camping Concepts. They give you a nice square application, and basically it's the steel bracket here that you get, and then you drill the 4 bolts. They supply all the bolts and hardware, and I have 12 of these. Two for each square, and there's about 6 squares here, I guess. So that's how that works. Really pretty cool. Highly recommend them as an outfit. Here's the other side of it. So I'll put a link in the description. Compact Camping Concepts. So I use the recommended Compact Camping Concepts size steel to build the rack, because they're pretty famous for doing these no-weld racks. I figured I couldn't go wrong with those folks. I sourced the steel tubing locally, once again using the specs from Compact Camping Concepts. This is an electric application, so you're going to need solar power or a battery to provide the electric lift that you're going to need for the actuators that I'm using. One of the nice things about these brackets you're utilizing from Compact Camping Concepts is you can reutilize them. So I've utilized mine where I've mounted all my external lighting to where they just kind of mount right up wherever I had one of those particular brackets, and it seems to work out really nice. So another thing I got from Compact Camping Concepts are these vertical steel tubing end corner posts, I guess you'd call them. So basically it encloses around the end corner post, and it's got 4 bolts in it, so it's pretty stable. And what I needed to do is I needed to get some, oops, sorry about the camera work. I needed to get some spacer, so I used a 2-inch receiver hitch, cut it, bolted it together, welded it on, and then bolted and welded it into where it needed to be on the frame. So you've got the 2 bolts here going through your steel tubing. You've got 2 bolts here that go through the steel tubing, through the spacers and past the frame, so it's very stable. For the linear actuator, instead of bolting those on, I just put a weld around each of them. Once again, it's because of my design, and I have that telescoping design, so I didn't want to put a bolt in the bottom of that because it'd interfere with that. I didn't want to worry about it, so that's how I did those. The internal steel tubing, fully extended. You can see the brackets from Compact Camping Concepts, which I've utilized to, drill all the holes and mount it, everything up square. They're a really good application. Highly recommend it. It doesn't cost that much. Then you can see here my cross members, both lengthwise for the rack and the horizontal ones that I have going in there. Okay, those support the rooftop tent. And when I started this project, I didn't have the measurements for the tent. So how they operate, or basically how they mount, is they have that little it's not a U-clamp, it's 2 bolts that go into that track, and then that little piece of metal, you get it over there and you get it tight and you tighten it down. But you can see my Compact Camping Concepts corner is kind of wider than that, so I had to offset that a little bit. The tent's still square on top of the trailer. I just had to come up with an imaginative way to make that work. I'll show you the other side. Okay, so this is the other side, and perhaps you can see this, but I don't have the same kind of clamp over here. So what I did is I just utilized one of the bolts that came with the tent, and I utilized one of the holes that came down through the Compact Camping Concepts bracket, and I aligned that. And I did that front, rear and front. So hopefully you can see that pretty good. Okay, on the passenger side of the trailer, there's a CB antenna mounted to the back of the roof rack. And I mounted it just above so it wouldn't get entangled with anything. And you can see here I've reutilized those brackets for a couple more of the lights. You can see where the linear actuators on the rear are attached to the telescoping rack, and you can see the steel tubing that goes down. On the back side, because I needed more length or spacer to make sure that my trailer top would work, I just cut a section off a 2-inch receiver hitch, and I didn't have to splice it or nothing. I just used the entire 2 inches to give me the space that I needed, and it worked out really well. So for the linear actuators on the rear, I relocated the taillights higher up on my trailer, and I ran all the cabling for both the taillights as well as linear actuators underneath the trailer, so that they would be up and out of the way. They go in that tubing all the way up to the tongue. Okay, so as you can see, the linear actuators are mounted towards the top and towards the bottom. And what I did was to determine where I needed to make the cut for the telescoping port was going to be at the top of the linear actuator, so that I would get the most height out of it as I possibly could. I'm going to lower this down. Okay, so there you could hear the linear actuators all getting in alignment again. I was a little concerned initially that, hey, these will get out of alignment, they might not all go up smoothly, etc. But actually they're working like a champ. Okay, that's going to conclude our brief overview on how to build your rooftop tent and rack and make sure it telescopes up and down. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. We're just trying to build the channel out.